Alright, hey everyone, thanks again for joining us for another tech video. Today we were actually going to go over the highly sought out for Ecosol add-on package. What the Ecosol add-on package is actually our solar add-on, our 24 volt solar kit. And this is good for any of our 24 volt applications, whether it be the Aries, the Deimos, our Giotto, our barrier arms, our Michelangelo, even if you're adding it to our Thalia swing gates. This would be the add-on kit for something that's already installed and been in the field. Basically, what I recommend would be, we took it a step further and we actually added, I don't know if anybody else has ever used the Ecosol add-on kit before. You notice, it just comes with the plugs and you would have to use your own cable. So we actually have the Ecosol add-on package with harness, right? So this harness, we have already pre-wired each pin by pin on the square plug and both round plugs, and all you would have to do is plug it in on the side of the cable. Now remember, your black cables give you 10 feet of cable and your gray cable gives you 15 feet of cable. So be mindful when you're cutting your tips to give yourself enough space back and forth to run your cables and not be too short. All right, a couple things that I can go over here just as a tip would definitely be your wire connections, okay? So when you're looking at this, you actually have, your channel 1 and your channel 2. Now remember, channel 1 and channel 2 here on your black plug are whatever you want it to be. You can make it start, pedestrian, open, close, whatever it is you want to do, but that's something that can be programmed later. But just, if you want to use channel 1, you have to remember to connect your green and white cable off of the circle plug, okay? So if the green and white cable are not wire nutted together, system will not work. So that's tip number 1. Now, if you want to use channel 1, this actually acts as your common. So you would hook up between here and here. So let's say you have a keypad or anything, a wired in transmit or anything you want to hook up, you would hook up between here and here to use channel 1 or IC1 on the board. Now let's say you want to use IC2 or channel 2 on the board, you would again hook up between here and then hook up between your red cable, which is your channel 2 on the board. So once more, channel 1, channel 2. Now one more tip about this cable right here. This would actually, let's say you have a exit probe that you want to add, right? Exit probes need to be powered all the time. You can't let it shut down with the system the way the Ecosol system works. Well, that's no problem. All you would have to do is hook up your positive side here and then your negative side to your negative connection right here on this tip where the Molex connector is. Or it's probably easier on this side, honestly. But as long as you're hooked up between your positive and your negative, this is the only way to get constant power from the Ecosol system. Of course, we provide all that with you with the harness as well, and of course with some instructions. The instructions will more or less let you know, let's say you got your own cable and you had to wire everything up a little differently. This will walk you through it. Of course, if you're hooking up to a slide gate operator, we also have a little addition in there for you as well, depending on which control board you're using. All right, one important thing when plugging in these, when you're plugging these things into the board, they all plug in okay except for the square one. You notice inside this kit, there's also this little rubber grommet in there. All right, so that's very important to make sure you put that in the square plug, and because you don't want any water intrusion inside of your board here. And for whatever reason, let's say you don't get the add-on harness or the harness included, and you want to use your own cables and you want to wire in pin by pin, please make sure you're at least using 16/4 direct burial. You want something that will stand the test of time and of course weather. I think that's it for the most part for your connections. Let me come over now and talk to you a little bit more about the Ecosol board. The Ecosol board, if you notice here, it has a couple dip switches, right? So I'll go over each one individually. Your dip switch 1 is specifically for your dual battery add-on. So let's say these batteries aren't enough and you need a second set of batteries, which would be the add-on kit. You would make sure 1 is on, and then of course this tip right here is where your second set of batteries would go. All right. Number 2, dip switch number 2 is specifically for remote programming. So dip switch number 2 would have to be in the up position to program remotes here. Dip switch number 3 and 4 can actually be found on page 16, chart M of the English version manual. Now 3 and 4, all that's really going to do is change the time, because remember, Ecosol puts this system to sleep. When you click your remote, it wakes this system up, and this system wakes up this system. Then it sends the signal. So basically 3 and 4 mess with the timing of when the signal is sent. Like let's say for instance, in that chart, it shows for the Aries, I should have 3 and 4 off to get the timing right for, you know, your command to get there correctly. One more thing I can go over. You notice we have just a solid copper cable hooked up on this corner. This is for your antenna. So if you'd like to hook up the BFT antenna, you know, you'd put your copper cable to Y and then put the shield to the pound sign or the hashtag there, and then you could run an external antenna for better reception. That now brings me to the lights, so you know what you're looking at here. This light right here, if this has 2 purposes. If it flashes 3 times, stops, flashes 3 times and stops, that means your batteries are low. So what I recommend if you see that is to disconnect the battery and then measure each one individually and make sure that they're within parameters. And again, make sure they're within 0.7 volts plus or minus of each other. All right, so that would be step 1. Then you have another LED over here, which is your DL4 light. If this light is on, that means it's charging your batteries, right? So how do you know it's charging your batteries okay? You would disconnect the positive and the negative. So not the jumper, but the positive and the negative. You would disconnect and measure the cables and make sure you're getting about 27 volts. All right, so DL4 light on, make sure you're getting about 27 volts to make sure you're charging the system. You can put it all together. Now, everything seems to be going okay. Everything seems to be charging. That brings us over to, you know, it's time to program. You have this thing installed, you want to program it. Well, if it's asleep, there's no way to program it. So the way to do that is there's actually on your JP14 jumper, the DL2 light will turn on, and it will give you constant power to your control board to do any programming, go in the menu, make any changes without it turning off on you, because it will turn off on you if you're trying to use it. So again, your JP14 light or jumper, you would put it on and turn it on. Now, this is only for programming, only for getting things done. When you are done, very important to take that jumper off or you will drain your batteries after about a week or so. All right? Because, you know, the Ecosol system, like I said, puts this to sleep. Once you've got all that done and you're good to go, you can now start touching the board. And I mean, you can check out the link on top for the programming of the Deimos and the Aries, but I'm just gonna go through it quickly here just to show you guys how this goes. Language, English, preset. I go over that in depth in the other video. Program. All right, now auto set. All right, I gotta get ready with the magnets here. Hold on, guys. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, I'm gonna take this time while I'm jumping back here like a human gate to basically explain that if anybody's used to BFT, basically the next step after this is always remote programming, right? So you don't want to do remote programming. That is an automatic halt, stop, right? Do not do it. You finish your auto set, and then the next thing would be remote programming, and you would exit out of that as soon as possible. So no remote programming here at all. Stay away from remote programming, because remember, this board goes to bed, all right? So after, you know, everything's done, you're good to go, it ran back and forth, you exit it out, you know, you remember I have the limit switch right here on the floor, but you're back at SLC or C. Now you can move back over to your Ecosol board, all right? With the Ecosol board, to program the remotes, you don't necessarily need the jumper in, so I'll leave it off just to show you how the system operates. You leave it off, and now is when you will grab your remote. And remember, this works similarly to this. If you want channel 1, you program to channel 1 or channel 2, just like if you're wiring the channel 1 or channel 2 on this side. So the way to program the remotes is we go back to that low battery light, and now it's also gonna do a dual purpose as remote programming. So if you wanna program to channel 1, you know, you would click and if you wanna check out some more remote programming, check out this link here on top. But you would just push the SW1 button one time. You'll get a single flash, right? Once you get your single flash, you squeeze both buttons at the same time for your hidden button, you get a solid light. So it found the hidden button. Let go, quickly tap. That fast flash says it accepted channel 1. Good to go. So now I'll let it time out, and now I want to also program channel 2 to the remote. All right, so as soon as it times out, to get to channel 2, you would push this button twice. 1, 2. And now I should get a double flash. Perfect. hidden button again. All right, solid light, and now I'll choose the other button. Got a fast flash, so it accepted. So now I officially have programmed the remote to channel 1 and channel 2. So you can have, of course, your IC1 and your IC2 programmed to whatever you want. You could have it start pedestrian, open, close. Honestly, whatever it is you want these commands to be, you can set it up with both. So just to show you how that works, you push channel 1. It'll wake the system up, and then it gives the command to start moving the system. And remember, I programmed channel 2. When I click it, it gave us a little PED because we have PED programmed on channel 2. So now I officially have both buttons programmed, acting exactly the same way as if you were using wired in channel 1 or wired in channel 2. One last thing I wanted to go over was basically the chart. Other than going over dip switches 3 and 4 of what you're supposed to do on page 16, chart M, it's going to give you a number if you're using regular Ecosol, which is this, or Ecosol Double that has 2 more batteries added on. You'll notice it has a number here. And what this number is telling you, like, let's say for instance, this Custos, it shows a 20. Let's say, the world were to black out and the batteries are fully charged, you should technically get 20 times 10 operations. So you should get 200 operations on this Custos with full charge before it loses power. Now remember, that's optimal conditions, and the weight of the gate plays a role in the number of open and closes with your full gate. But again, I hope this was good. If you guys need anything else, please leave any comments below. Tell us how we can fix it. And thank you for joining us.